Riley Martinez stared at her phone screen, her hands trembling slightly as she typed out the message. It was 9:30 at night, and her two 5-year-old boys, Cooper and Mason, had just fallen asleep after their bedtime story. She sat on the edge of her worn-out couch in their small apartment, trying to figure out how to word this text to her landlord, without sounding completely desperate. The rent was late again, 3 weeks late to be exact, and Mr. Patterson had already warned her last month that he couldn't keep making exceptions. Riley worked as a third-grade teacher at Lincoln Elementary, and she loved her job, but the pay barely covered their basic needs. She'd picked up weekend shifts at a diner 2 months ago, but even that wasn't enough to get them ahead. She looked at the stack of bills on her coffee table and felt that familiar tightness in her chest. Medical bills from when Mason broke his arm last year, the electricity bill that kept climbing, and now the rent. Always the rent. Riley took a deep breath and started typing. I know I'm late again and I'm so sorry. I promise I'll have the money by Friday when I get paid. Please don't evict us. My boys need stability and I'm doing everything I can. I just need a little more time. She read it over 3 times, hating how pathetic it sounded but knowing it was the truth. Her pride had died somewhere around the 2nd year of doing this alone. The twins' father had disappeared before they were even born, and her parents had passed away when she was in college. It was just her and the boys against the world. Riley hit send and immediately felt her stomach drop. She closed her eyes and leaned back against the couch, already imagining Mr. Patterson's response. He was a decent man, but he had his own bills to pay. How many times could she ask for mercy? Her phone buzzed less than a minute later. That was fast. Riley's heart pounded as she opened the message, preparing herself for the worst. I think you have the wrong number, but are you okay? Do you need help? Riley sat up straight, her eyes widening as she read the message again. Wrong number? She quickly scrolled up to check the contact and her heart sank even further. She'd typed 555-0147 instead of 555-0174. In her stressed-out state, she'd somehow transposed the numbers and sent her most vulnerable moment to a complete stranger. Oh no, oh no, oh no, she muttered to herself, her face burning with embarrassment. Of all the messages to send to the wrong person. She'd just dumped her entire life crisis on someone random. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. I'm so sorry. Wrong number. Please just delete that and forget you saw it. I'm mortified. She expected that to be the end of it. Most people would probably just ignore it or send a quick no problem and move on with their lives. But this person wrote back almost immediately. Don't be embarrassed. These things happen. But seriously, are you all right? That message sounded pretty urgent. Riley stared at her phone, surprised. A stranger actually cared enough to ask? She didn't know whether to be touched or more embarrassed. She decided to just be honest. I'm fine, just having a rough month. Or year. But that's not your problem. Again, really sorry for bothering you. You didn't bother me. I'm Alex, by the way. And rough months are the worst. I hope things get better for you soon. There was something kind about the message, something genuine that made Riley feel a little less alone in that moment. She found herself typing back before she could overthink it. I'm Riley, and thanks. That's really nice of you to say, especially to a stranger who just accidentally vented at you. We're all strangers until we're not. Besides, I was just sitting here working late and could use the distraction. How old are your boys? Riley hesitated. Should she really be having a conversation with someone she didn't know? But then again, what was the harm? It wasn't like she was giving out her address or personal information. And honestly, it felt nice to talk to someone who wasn't looking at her with pity or judgment. They're 5. Twins, actually. Cooper and Mason. They're the best thing that ever happened to me, even when they're driving me crazy. Twins. That must be an adventure. Do they have that whole twin telepathy thing? Riley smiled for the first time that evening. Sometimes I swear they do. They'll look at each other and just start laughing at the exact same time over nothing. Or they'll both wake up in the middle of the night wanting water, even though their rooms are separate. It's spooky and amazing at the same time. That's actually incredible. Are they identical? Fraternal. Cooper has darker hair like me and Mason is blonde, but they're definitely partners in crime. Last week they convinced their kindergarten teacher that they'd switched places for the day. Took her until lunch to figure it out. That's brilliant. Sounds like you've got 2 masterminds on your hands. Riley laughed softly, careful not to wake the boys. That's what worries me. I'm outnumbered and they're already smarter than me. They texted back and forth for another hour. Alex asked about her job, and Riley found herself talking about her students and how much she loved teaching, even though the pay was terrible. He was easy to talk to, asking thoughtful questions and actually seeming interested in her answers. He told her he worked in tech, something about software development, but kept the details vague. Riley didn't mind. It was refreshing to talk to someone without the usual small talk scripts. When she finally said goodnight, Riley realized she felt lighter than she had in weeks. It was strange how a simple wrong number could turn into an actual conversation with someone who seemed to care. She didn't expect to hear from Alex again. It was just one of those random internet age moments, she figured. A little kindness from a stranger and then everyone moves on. But the next morning, while she was making breakfast for the boys, her phone buzzed with a new message. "Good morning. Hope you and the twins have a great day. And I meant what I said last night. If you ever need to talk, I'm here." Riley stared at the message while Cooper and Mason argued over who got the blue bowl for their cereal. Something warm spread through her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in a long time. Hope, maybe, or just the simple comfort of knowing someone out there was thinking of her, even if he was a stranger. She texted back a quick thank you, and that's how it started. A wrong number on a desperate night became a daily conversation. Alex would text her good morning, and they'd chat throughout the day whenever they both had free moments. He'd ask how her classes went, whether the boys liked their dinner, if she'd had any funny student stories to share. Riley found herself looking forward to his messages. In a life that felt like constant struggle and loneliness, these little conversations became bright spots in her day. She started sharing more about her life, about the challenges of being a single mom, about her dreams of maybe one day going back to school to get her master's degree so she could become a principal and make a real difference in education. Alex shared things too, though Riley noticed he kept certain details vague. He talked about work stress and long hours, about feeling disconnected from the people around him, about wanting something real in his life. But he never mentioned where exactly he lived or worked, and Riley never pushed. Everyone was entitled to their privacy. 3 weeks after that first wrong number text, Riley was putting groceries away when Mason came running into the kitchen. "Mom, Cooper pushed me." "Did not. You pushed me first." Riley closed her eyes and counted to 5. "Boys, we've talked about this. Use your words, not your hands." Her phone buzzed on the counter. Alex's name lit up the screen. "How's your evening going?" Riley smiled and typed back with one hand, while separating 2 5-year-olds with the other. "Refereeing a twin dispute. The glamorous life of a single mom. Need backup? I'm pretty good at negotiation. I wish. Pretty sure you couldn't handle these two. They're professionals. I believe it. Hey, random question. Do you ever feel like you're just going through the motions? Like you're so busy surviving that you forget to actually live?" Riley paused, Cooper and Mason's argument fading into the background. She read the message again, feeling like Alex had just reached into her brain and pulled out a thought she'd never quite been able to articulate. "All the time," she typed back. "Every single day." And just like that, their conversation went deeper. They started talking about real things, vulnerable things, the kind of stuff you usually only share with close friends. Alex became someone Riley could be honest with, someone who didn't judge her for struggling or make her feel like she had to have it all together. She still had no idea who he really was, where he lived, or what he looked like. But somehow that didn't matter. For the first time in 5 years, Riley didn't feel quite so alone. 2 months had passed since that wrong number text, and Riley's life had taken on a new rhythm. Every morning started with a message from Alex, usually something simple like, "Hope you have a great day," or "Thinking of you." Throughout the day, they'd exchange texts between her classes and his work meetings, and almost every night after she tucked the boys in, they'd talk on the phone for an hour or more. Riley had never done anything like this before. She'd dated a little after the twins' father left, but those relationships never went anywhere. Most guys ran the other direction when they found out she had kids, but Alex was different. He asked about Cooper and Mason constantly, wanted to hear their funny stories, seemed genuinely interested in her life as a mom. One Tuesday afternoon, Riley was sitting in her classroom during her planning period grading papers when her phone rang. It was Alex, which was unusual for the middle of the day. "Hey, is everything okay?" she answered. "Yeah, totally fine. I just had a random thought and wanted to ask you something. What's your favorite thing to do with the boys?" Like if money wasn't an issue, what would you love to do with them? Riley leaned back in her chair thinking, honestly, I'd love to take them to the aquarium. Cooper is obsessed with sharks and Mason won't stop talking about octopuses. But the tickets are expensive and we'd have to drive 2 hours to get there, which means gas money and probably food. It's just not in the budget right now. What if I told you I could make that happen? Alex, no. We've talked about this. I'm not taking money from you. It wouldn't be money. Just tickets. I have connections, Riley sighed. They'd had this conversation before in different forms. Ever since Alex learned about her financial struggles, he'd been trying to help in small ways. Last month, when she mentioned that Cooper needed new shoes because he'd outgrown his old ones, a package mysteriously showed up at her door the next day. Alex swore he had nothing to do with it, but Riley knew better. I appreciate it, I really do. But I need to do this on my own. I understand. I respect that. But Riley, there's a difference between accepting help and losing your independence. You're one of the strongest people I know. Letting someone do something nice for you doesn't change that. Riley felt her throat tighten. She wasn't used to people seeing her this way, seeing past the struggling single mom label to who she actually was. Can I think about it? She asked. Of course. No pressure. The offer stands whenever you're ready. That night after dinner, Mason came up to her while she was washing dishes. Mom, when can we see the fish? Cooper said we're going to see sharks. Riley's heart sank. Baby, I didn't promise that. Sharks are at the aquarium, and that's pretty far away. But Cooper said you were talking about it on the phone. Of course he'd overheard. The boys had supersonic hearing when it came to anything that might be fun. Cooper appeared in the doorway, his eyes wide with hope. Are we really going to see sharks, Mom? Please, I've been so good. I even cleaned my room without you asking. Riley looked at her two boys, their faces full of innocent excitement, and felt the weight of always having to say no, always having to be the parent who couldn't afford the extras. She thought about Alex's words. Was it really so wrong to accept help sometimes? She pulled out her phone and texted him. Okay, about those tickets, but I'm paying you back somehow. I mean it. His response came immediately. Deal. How does this Saturday sound? Saturday morning arrived with Cooper and Mason bouncing off the walls with excitement. They'd barely slept, too wound up about seeing real sharks. Riley had packed sandwiches and snacks to save money, and she'd filled up her car's gas tank using the small emergency fund she kept hidden in her closet. As she was buckling the boys into their car seats, her phone buzzed with a message from Alex. Have the best time today. I wish I could see their faces when they meet their first shark. I'll send pictures. Thank you again for this. You have no idea what it means to us. Actually, I think I do. My brother and I went to an aquarium when we were about their age. It's one of my best memories of him. Riley paused, her fingers hovering over her phone. Alex rarely mentioned his brother, but when he did, there was always a sadness underneath his words. She'd learned over the past couple of months that his brother had died when they were kids, but Alex never shared details. Was he your twin? She typed. There was a long pause. Riley wondered if she'd crossed a line. Then her phone buzzed. Yeah, he was. I'll tell you about him sometime. But today is about making memories with your boys. Go have fun. The drive to the aquarium flew by with the boys singing songs and playing I Spy. When they finally arrived and walked through the entrance, Cooper and Mason's eyes went huge. The first exhibit was a massive floor-to-ceiling tank filled with tropical fish in every color imaginable. Mom, look. That one's purple. Mason pressed his face against the glass. I see a yellow one, and a stripy one. Cooper was jumping up and down. Riley pulled out her phone and snapped pictures, wanting to capture every moment. She sent a few to Alex with the caption, They're in heaven. As they moved through the exhibits, Riley found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in years. She wasn't worried about bills or work or what they were going to eat for dinner. She was just a mom, watching her kids discover something amazing. They spent 20 minutes at the touch tank where the boys got to pet stingrays. Mason was brave and kept reaching in, giggling every time a ray glided under his fingers. Cooper was more hesitant, but finally worked up the courage to touch one, and the smile on his face was worth everything. When they reached the shark tunnel, Cooper literally started crying from joy. They walked through slowly, sharks swimming over their heads and all around them through the curved glass. They're so big, Cooper whispered, his voice full of awe. Mom, they're real sharks. Real ones. Riley crouched down between her boys, pointing out different species, reading the plaques to them. In that moment, She felt like maybe she was doing okay as a mom. Maybe she couldn't give them everything, but she could give them this. She took a selfie of the three of them with a shark swimming overhead and sent it to Alex. "You made this happen. Thank you doesn't feel like enough." His response made her smile. "Your happiness is all the thanks I need. You deserve good things, Riley. All three of you do." On the drive home, both boys fell asleep in their car seats within 10 minutes, exhausted from all the excitement. Riley glanced at them in the rearview mirror, their faces peaceful. Cooper clutching a small stuffed shark that she'd splurged on from the gift shop. Her phone rang through the car's speakers, and Alex's name appeared on the screen. Riley answered, keeping her voice low. "Hey, are you home already?" "Still driving." The boys passed out. "This was really special, Alex. I don't think I'll ever forget seeing their faces today." "I'm glad. I was thinking about you guys all day." There was something in his voice, something Riley couldn't quite identify. They'd been talking for 2 months, but this felt different somehow. "More personal, can I ask you something?" Riley said. "And you don't have to answer if you don't want to." "Anything. Why do you do this? Help us, I mean. You barely know me. We've never even met in person. What do you get out of it?" Alex was quiet for a moment. Riley worried she'd messed up, pushed too hard. But then he spoke and his voice was soft. "Honestly, you make me remember what matters. I spend all day dealing with numbers and deals and people who only care about what I can do for them. But when I talk to you, when I hear about the boys, about your students, about you trying so hard to make a good life, it reminds me that there are real things worth caring about. You're not asking me for anything. You're just living your life and trying your best. And that's more than I can say for most people in my world." Riley felt her eyes getting watery. "Your world sounds pretty lonely." "It is, or it was. Before I accidentally got a wrong number text from someone real." They talked for the rest of the drive about everything and nothing. Alex told her more about his brother, about how they used to pretend they could read each other's minds, about the secret language they'd invented that drove their parents crazy. Riley shared memories of her own parents, how much she wished they were still around to meet Cooper and Mason. By the time Riley pulled into her apartment complex, she realized something had shifted between them. They weren't just friendly strangers anymore. This was becoming something more, something that both excited and terrified her. Over the next few weeks, their conversations got even deeper. Alex started calling every night, and they'd talk until midnight, sometimes later. He told her about the pressure he felt at work, though he still kept the details vague. She told him about the student in her class who was struggling to read, and how she was staying after school twice a week to help him catch up. One evening, Riley mentioned that Cooper needed glasses. The school had sent home a note saying he'd failed the vision test, and she'd been putting off making an appointment because she knew how expensive glasses for kids could be, especially ones that could survive a 5-year-old's rough-and-tumble lifestyle. "I'll figure it out," she told Alex. "I can pick up an extra shift at the diner next weekend. It'll be fine." "You're already working yourself to exhaustion, Riley. You can barely keep your eyes open by the time we talk at night." "What choice do I have? He needs to see the board at school." "I'm his mom. I'll make it work." The next morning, Riley got a call from the optometrist's office she'd been planning to contact. "Hi, Ms. Martinez. We have you down for an appointment today at 2, and I'm calling to confirm. Also, I wanted to let you know that your son's exam and glasses have been covered by an anonymous donor who sponsors local families. You won't owe anything." Riley's hand shook as she held the phone. "I'm sorry, what?" "Yes, it's part of our community outreach program. Someone wonderful made a donation specifically for families who need help with children's vision care. You're all set, no charge." After she hung up, Riley immediately called Alex. "Did you do this?" "Do what?" "Alex, Cooper's glasses. The optometrist just called." "Riley, I swear I don't know anything about an optometrist. Maybe you just got lucky. Good things happen sometimes." She wanted to believe him, but she knew. She absolutely knew it was him. And the thing was, she wasn't even mad. She was grateful, but more than that, she was starting to realize that Alex wasn't just some guy she was texting. He was becoming important to her, becoming part of her life in ways that scared her. That night, after Cooper's appointment and after the boys were asleep, Riley texted Alex, "I know you're lying about the glasses, and I know you're going to deny it again, but I need you to understand something. This means everything to me. Not the money, not the help. The fact that you care enough to do something like this. I haven't had someone care about me and my boys like this in a very long time. His response took a few minutes, but when it came, it made her heart race. Riley, I need to tell you something. I haven't been completely honest with you about who I am. Can we talk? Actually talk, like on the phone? Riley's stomach flipped. She'd known all along that Alex was keeping something from her, but she'd convinced herself it didn't matter. Now, faced with the reality that he was about to share something big, she wasn't sure she was ready, but she called him anyway, because after 2 months of conversations and growing feelings, she needed to know who she was really falling for. Riley's hands were shaking as she waited for Alex to answer her call. Part of her wanted to hang up, to stay in this comfortable bubble where Alex was just a kind voice on the other end of the line and nothing had to change. But she'd pressed the call button and now it was ringing. Hey, Alex answered, his voice quieter than usual. So what did you want to tell me? Riley tried to keep her voice steady, but she could hear the nervousness in it. Alex took a deep breath. First, I need you to know that everything I've told you about myself is true. My feelings, my thoughts, the things I've shared with you, that's all real. But I haven't told you everything about my life, and I think before we go any further, you deserve to know. Okay. Riley sat down on her couch, pulling a blanket around her shoulders. I'm listening. I told you I work in tech, which is true. But I didn't tell you that I started my own company about 10 years ago. We developed software for businesses, and it grew really fast. Last year I sold that company. For a lot of money, Riley. Like more money than most people see in a lifetime. Riley felt her stomach drop. How much money are we talking about? The kind that makes the news. The kind that changes everything about how people see you. She sat there in silence, trying to process this. Alex wasn't just comfortable. He was wealthy. Really wealthy? So you're rich? She said finally. I guess that's one way to put it. But Riley, that's exactly why I didn't tell you. Because the second people find out, everything changes. They start treating me differently. They want something from me. Or they assume I'm some disconnected elitist who doesn't understand real problems. I just wanted someone to know me, not my bank account. And the glasses? The aquarium tickets? That was nothing to you. No, that's not fair. It wasn't about the money being nothing. It was about wanting to help someone I care about. Would you have felt better if I'd been struggling to afford it? Would that have made it more meaningful? Riley closed her eyes. He had a point, but she still felt off balance, like the ground had shifted beneath her feet. I need to think about this, she said. Can we talk tomorrow? Of course. Riley, I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. But I was scared of losing you. After they hung up, Riley sat in the dark living room for a long time. She thought about the past 2 months, about how natural their connection had felt, how Alex had made her feel seen and valued. Did his money change any of that? Did it make his kindness less real? She also couldn't help thinking about the gap between their lives. He was someone who sold companies for millions, and she was someone who counted pennies to buy groceries. How could that possibly work? But then she remembered something Alex had said about his brother, about losing him and how it changed everything. Money hadn't protected him from that pain. Money hadn't made him less lonely. He was just a person like everyone else trying to find something real. Riley texted him at 11 p.m. I'm still processing everything, but I don't want to lose this either. Can we meet? Actually meet face to face? His response came within seconds. Yes, absolutely yes. When? They agreed on Saturday afternoon at a coffee shop downtown. Riley spent the rest of the week in a state of nervous energy. She told her best friend Melissa about it, and Melissa's eyes had gone wide. Wait, you're telling me you've been texting with a millionaire for 2 months and you didn't know? I know how it sounds. But Mel, when we talk, he's just Alex. He's funny and kind, and he listens to me. The money thing doesn't feel like the real him. Girl, I hope you're right, because this could either be a fairy tale or a disaster. There's no in-between. Saturday arrived too fast. Riley changed her outfit 3 times, finally settling on jeans and a simple green sweater. She'd arranged for Melissa to watch the boys, telling them she had a work meeting. She wasn't ready to explain Alex to Cooper and Mason yet. Not until she figured out what this even was. The coffee shop was crowded when Riley arrived 15 minutes early. She found a table near the window and ordered a latte she couldn't really afford but needed for the caffeine and the moral support. Her leg bounced under the table as she watched the door. At exactly 2 o'clock, a man walked in who made Riley do a double take. He was tall, probably in his mid-30s, wearing dark jeans and a casual button-down shirt. His hair was slightly messy in that way that looked effortless, and he had kind eyes that scanned the coffee shop like he was looking for someone. When those eyes landed on Riley, his whole face lit up with a smile that made her heart skip. He walked over to her table, and Riley realized her mouth was hanging open slightly. This was Alex. But not just Alex. This was Alexander Chen, the guy who'd been on the cover of the local business magazine last month. The same guy who'd donated millions to rebuild the community center that the city had been trying to fund for years. "Riley," he said, and it was definitely his voice, the same voice she'd been hearing on the phone for 2 months. "You're Alexander Chen," she said, still trying to wrap her mind around it. "Guilty." He gestured to the chair across from her. "Can I sit?" Riley nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Alexander Chen had been texting her. Alexander Chen had paid for Cooper's glasses. Alexander Chen had been the voice that talked her through panic attacks about bills and listened to her silly stories about her students. "I know this is a lot," Alex said as he sat down. "I probably should have sent a photo or something before now. You think?" Riley let out a shaky laugh. "I mean, I Googled your name after you told me about the company, but I didn't expect you to be you. I'm still just me. Same person who sent you good morning texts and wanted to hear about the boys' day. The rest is just circumstances." Riley looked at him, really looked at him. He seemed nervous, which made her feel slightly better. His hand kept moving to his coffee cup and then away, like he didn't know what to do with it. "Why me?" she asked. "You could have anyone. Why did you keep texting a single mom who sent you a desperate message by mistake?" Alex leaned forward, his eyes serious. "Because you were real. That first text, you weren't trying to impress anyone or get anything from anyone. You were just a person in a hard spot, being honest about it. Do you know how rare that is? People in my life always want something. They're always performing, always angling. But you never ask me for anything. Even now, knowing what you know, you're not asking. I'm still processing the fact that you're actually here in front of me and you're him. Are you disappointed?" Riley thought about it, was she? "No, but I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of this being too different. Our lives, I mean. You live in a world I can't even imagine, and I'm just trying to keep my head above water." "How does that work?" Alex reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. "Can I tell you something about my brother?" Riley nodded. His name was Marcus. We were twins and we did everything together. We had our own language, our own secret handshakes, all of it. When we were 7, he got sick. Leukemia. We were identical twins, so I was a perfect match for a bone marrow transplant. Everyone said it was lucky that I could save him. Alex's voice got quieter, but it didn't work. He died 3 months after the transplant, and I spent years thinking that having all the right medical care, the best doctors, unlimited money for treatment didn't matter. It couldn't save the person I loved most. Riley's hand moved across the table to cover his. "Alex, I'm so sorry. After he died, I threw myself into school, into work, into building something. I told myself that if I couldn't save Marcus, at least I could make something of the life I got to keep living. But somewhere along the way, I forgot how to connect with people. I forgot what it felt like to have someone who knew the real me, the way Marcus did." He looked up at Riley and she could see tears in his eyes. "Then you sent that text, and you reminded me what it's like to have someone to talk to who sees past everything else. You told me about your boys, about how Cooper and Mason have that twin bond, and it made me remember Marcus in a way that didn't hurt for the first time in 27 years. Riley felt her own eyes getting wet. "I can't imagine losing that kind of connection. That's why I kept texting you. Not because I felt sorry for you or because I wanted to be some rich guy playing hero, but because talking to you made me feel like myself again. And hearing about your boys, seeing how much you love them and how hard you fight for them, it made me think that maybe Marcus would be proud of the person I'm trying to be now." They sat there for a moment, hands clasped across the table, the noise of the coffee shop fading into the background. "I need you to understand something," Riley said finally. "I can't be your project. I'm not someone you save to make yourself feel better about your brother. If we're going to do this, whatever this is, it has to be because you want to be with me, not because you want to fix me. I don't want to fix you. You're not broken. You're handling an impossible situation with more grace than anyone I've ever met. I want to know you, Riley. I want to be part of your life if you'll let me. But I'll be honest, I don't know how to do this. I haven't dated anyone seriously in years, and I've never dated someone with kids. Riley pulled her hand back, needing space to think clearly. I have to be careful here. I have 2 little boys who are my entire world. I can't let them get attached to someone who might not stick around. And I need to know that you understand what you're signing up for. Dating a single mom isn't glamorous. It's messy and complicated, and there's always something happening. And I can't afford to go to fancy restaurants or do the kinds of things you're probably used to. What if I don't want fancy restaurants? What if I just want to be around you? And the boys? What if I want simple? Alex, you don't even know Cooper and Mason. Then let me meet them. Properly. No pressure, no expectations. Just let me see who they are. Riley's mind was racing. This was moving so fast, but also, hadn't they been building toward this for 2 months? She thought about how Alex had listened to every story about the boys, how he'd asked about their day every single day, how he'd seemed genuinely interested in their little 5-year-old lives. Okay, she said slowly, but we take this slow. And you need to understand that they come first. Always. I wouldn't have it any other way. They spent the next 2 hours talking, really talking. Alex told her more about his company, about the pressure of success, about feeling isolated in rooms full of people who only saw dollar signs. Riley told him about the nights she cried in the shower because she was so overwhelmed, about the guilt she felt for not being able to give the boys everything they wanted, about her dreams of someday making a real difference in education. When they finally left the coffee shop, it was getting dark. Alex walked Riley to her car, and they stood there in the parking lot, neither quite wanting to say goodbye. So what happens now? Riley asked. Now, I'd really like to kiss you, but only if you want that too. Riley's heart was pounding. I do, but I'm terrified. Me too. Alex leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. When his lips touched hers, it was soft and gentle and perfect. Riley felt like she'd been waiting her whole life for this moment, for this person who saw her completely and still wanted to be here. When they pulled apart, Alex smiled. Worth the 2-month wait, Riley laughed. Definitely worth it. As she drove home, Riley couldn't stop smiling. She knew there would be challenges ahead. She knew people would judge them, that their different worlds would create complications. But for the first time in years, she felt hope. Real hope. The kind that made her think maybe, just maybe, happy endings weren't just for other people. When she got home and paid Melissa, her friend took one look at her face and grinned. Okay, you have to tell me everything. Riley collapsed on the couch. Mel, I think I'm falling for a billionaire. And he wants to meet my kids. Melissa's eyes went wide. Okay, this just got real. Are you ready for that? Riley thought about Alex's face when he talked about his brother, about the way he'd listened to her for 2 months without expecting anything in return, about how he'd made her feel valued and seen. I think so. I really think I might be. Riley spent the entire week preparing the boys to meet Alex. She'd sit them down at breakfast and casually mention that her friend might come visit. Cooper, who never missed anything, had looked at her suspiciously. Is this friend a boy or a girl? A boy. A man, actually. His name is Alex. Is he your boyfriend? Mason asked through a mouthful of cereal. I don't know yet, baby. He's just someone I've been talking to, and I thought maybe you'd like to meet him. Cooper squinted at her. Does he like sharks? I don't know. You could ask him. If he doesn't like sharks, I don't want to meet him. Riley laughed, ruffling his hair. Fair enough. They'd agreed to meet at the park on Saturday morning. Something casual, low pressure. Alex had suggested bringing a soccer ball, and Riley thought that was sweet. He was trying. Saturday morning arrived with Cooper bouncing off the walls with energy and Mason being unusually quiet. Riley recognized that quietness. Mason got withdrawn when he was nervous about something new. Hey, buddy. She crouched down to his level while Cooper ran around the living room making airplane noises. You okay? Mason shrugged, playing with the zipper on his jacket. What if he doesn't like us? Riley's heart squeezed. Her sensitive boy. always worrying about what other people thought. Baby, he's going to love you, both of you. And if for some reason it doesn't work out, that's okay too. It's just a play date. But you like him, I can tell. Yeah, I do. But you know what? I like you and your brother way more. You two are my number one always. Nothing changes that. Mason nodded, but Riley could tell he was still worried. She made a mental note to keep a close eye on him during their park visit. When they got to the park, Alex was already there, sitting on a bench with a soccer ball next to him. He was wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt, looking nothing like the billionaire businessman from the magazine covers. When he saw them approaching, he stood up, and Riley could see he was nervous too. That made her feel slightly better. Cooper, Mason, this is my friend Alex. Alex, these are my boys. Hi, Alex said, giving them a small wave. Your mom's told me a lot about you guys. I heard one of you is a shark expert? Cooper's eyes lit up. That's me. Did you know that great white sharks can smell a single drop of blood in an Olympic-sized swimming pool? I did not know that. That's pretty cool. And they can sense electricity in the water. And they have rows and rows of teeth. Alex crouched down to Cooper's level. You know what? I've never seen a real shark up close. That aquarium trip your mom told me about sounded awesome. It was the best day of my whole entire life, Cooper said seriously. Mason was hanging back, half hiding behind Riley's leg. Alex noticed and didn't push, just smiled at him gently. You must be Mason. Your mom said you like octopuses? Mason nodded but didn't say anything. That's cool. I read somewhere that octopuses are really smart, is that true? Mason nodded again and then very quietly said, They can open jars, and they have 3 hearts. 3 hearts? Wow, that's amazing. They spent the next hour at the park. Alex played soccer with Cooper, who ran circles around him while shouting instructions. Mason sat on the grass making a pile of interesting rocks he'd found, and after a while, he showed them to Alex one by one, explaining why each one was special. Riley sat on the bench watching the 3 of them, and felt something shift in her chest. Alex wasn't trying too hard or being fake. He was just there, being present, listening to her boys ramble about sharks and rocks and everything else that 5-year-olds find important. At one point, Cooper kicked the ball too hard and it rolled down a hill toward the pond. Alex chased after it, and Riley heard him laughing as he retrieved it from the edge of the water. When he came back, slightly out of breath, Cooper high-fived him. You're pretty fast for an old person, Cooper said. I'm 35, not ancient, Alex laughed. That's pretty old. Riley covered her mouth to hide her smile. Leave it to a 5-year-old to have 0 filter. After the park, they went to get ice cream. Mason ordered chocolate with sprinkles. Cooper got something bright blue that would definitely stain his mouth, and Alex ordered the same thing as Riley just because he said he trusted her judgment. They sat at a picnic table outside the ice cream shop, the boys chattering about their week at school. Alex asked them questions, seemed genuinely interested in their answers. Riley found herself relaxing, letting herself imagine what it might be like if this became normal. But then Mason, out of nowhere, asked the question Riley had been dreading. Are you going to be our dad? The table went silent. Cooper stopped mid-lick of his blue ice cream. Alex froze. Riley felt her stomach drop. Mason, that's not something we talk about right now, Riley said gently. But I'm just asking. Trevor in my class got a new dad last year, and he's really nice. I was just wondering if Alex is going to be our dad too. Riley looked at Alex, trying to apologize with her eyes. But Alex was looking at Mason with such tenderness that it made Riley's throat tight. That's a really good question, Mason, Alex said carefully. Right now I'm your mom's friend, and I hope I can be your friend too. The dad thing, that's something that would have to happen slowly, over a long time. But I can tell you this, I think you and your brother are pretty awesome kids, and I'm really glad I got to meet you today. Mason seemed satisfied with that answer and went back to his ice cream. Cooper, however, was still studying Alex with those sharp 5-year-old eyes that missed nothing. Our real dad didn't want us, Cooper said matter-of-factly. He left before we were born. Mom said he wasn't ready to be a dad. Riley's hand tightened around her spoon. They'd had this conversation before, but hearing Cooper say it so casually in front of Alex made her want to cry. "I'm sorry that happened," Alex said. "That must have been really hard," Cooper shrugged. "I don't care. We have Mom, and she's the best. She works really hard for us. She really does. Your mom is one of the strongest people I've ever met." "Are you rich?" Cooper asked, switching topics with the randomness that only kids can pull off. "Cooper." Riley's face went red. "That's not a polite question." "Why not?" "Trevor asked his new dad that too." Alex laughed. "It's okay. Yes, Cooper, I have money. I started a company and worked really hard, and I was lucky enough that it did well. So you could buy us anything we want?" "Cooper James Martinez, that is enough," Riley said firmly. "I'm just asking." Alex caught Riley's eye and gave her a reassuring look. "Money can buy things, Cooper, but it can't buy the important stuff. It can't buy happiness or love or family. Those things you have to earn by being a good person and treating people right. Your mom has taught you that, hasn't she?" Cooper thought about this. "Yeah? She says we don't need a lot of stuff to be happy. She's right. The happiest times in my life weren't about money. They were about being with people I cared about." The rest of the ice cream trip went smoothly. When Riley finally loaded the boys back into her car, they were both chattering about how cool Alex was and when they could see him again. That night, after she'd put them to bed, Riley called Alex. "I'm so sorry about the questions. Kids have no filter. Don't apologize. They're curious. It's natural. And honestly, I was more nervous about meeting them than I've been about any business meeting in my life. Really, because this mattered. They matter. You matter." Riley smiled, curling up on her couch. "I think they really liked you. Cooper told me you were cool for an old person." Alex laughed. "High praise. How about you? How did you think it went?" "I think it went really well. But Alex, we need to talk about something. Mason asking about you being their dad. That's going to come up again, and I need to know that you understand what that means. These aren't abstract concepts to them. If you're in our lives, if they get attached and then you leave, it'll break them. I know that. I'm not planning on leaving, Riley. You can't promise that. Nobody can. You're right. But I can promise that I'm serious about this. About you. About figuring out how to be part of your life in whatever way works. I'm not here because I'm bored, or because this is some exciting adventure. I'm here because when I'm with you and the boys, I feel more like myself than I have in years." Over the next few weeks, Alex became a regular presence in their lives. He'd come over for dinner on Wednesdays, and they'd play board games that usually ended with Cooper making up his own rules. On Saturdays, they'd do something together as a group. The zoo, the children's museum, sometimes just a movie at Riley's apartment with popcorn. Riley found herself falling deeper for him. He was patient with the boys, didn't get frustrated when they were loud or messy or acting like normal 5-year-olds. He'd help Mason with puzzles and listen to Cooper's endless shark facts. And with Riley, he was attentive and kind, making her feel valued in ways she'd never experienced. But then things started to get complicated. It started small. A woman at the grocery store recognized Alex and asked for a photo. Then someone at the twins' school mentioned seeing Riley with that rich tech guy and asked if they were dating. Within a week, it seemed like everyone knew. The other moms at school drop-off started treating Riley differently. Some were overly friendly, suddenly inviting her to things they'd never mentioned before. Others whispered and shot her judgmental looks. One morning, Riley overheard 2 moms talking in the parking lot. "I heard she's only with him for his money. Single mom struggling to pay bills, and suddenly she's dating a billionaire? Come on, I know. Poor guy probably doesn't realize she's just using him. She probably saw dollar signs." Riley felt sick. She got in her car and cried before driving to work. That night, she told Alex about it. He was furious. "People are idiots. They don't know you. They don't know us. But that's going to be our life, Alex. People judging us, making assumptions. And it's not just me. What about the boys? What if other kids start treating them differently? What if they get teased because their mom is with you? Then we deal with it. Together. But what if I can't handle it? What if this is too much?" Alex reached for her hand. "Riley, I grew up with money. I know what it's like to have people judge you based on your bank account instead of who you are. It sucks. But you know what sucks more? Living your life based on what other people think. If we're happy, if the boys are happy, that's what matters." Riley wanted to believe him. But the next week, things got worse. Someone posted a photo of them at the park on social media, and it went viral. The comments were brutal. People called Riley a gold digger, said she trapped Alex, made cruel comments about her and the boys. The twins' school principal called her in for a meeting because some parents had complained about the media attention affecting the school. Riley felt like she was drowning. She'd worked so hard to build a stable, quiet life for her boys, and now everything felt chaotic. One night, after a particularly bad day where a tabloid website had published an article about their relationship with a headline that made Riley want to throw up, she called Alex. "I can't do this anymore," she said, her voice shaking. "I can't put the boys through this. They're 5 years old. They don't deserve to have their pictures taken without permission, or have people saying terrible things about their mom. Riley, please. We can figure this out. I can hire security, I can talk to the school, we can—" "No, Alex, this isn't the life I want for them. I wanted to give them stability and normalcy. This is the opposite of that. So you're just giving up? We're good together. You know we are. I know. But being good together isn't enough when it means exposing my kids to this circus. I have to put them first. I always have to put them first. I understand that. But you're not even giving me a chance to fix this. Some things can't be fixed, Alex. We're from different worlds. I was stupid to think we could make this work." There was a long silence on the phone. Riley could hear Alex breathing, could imagine the hurt on his face. "If this is really what you want," he said finally, his voice tight with emotion, "then I'll respect it. But Riley, I love you. I love your boys. And I think you're making a mistake. Maybe I am, but it's mine to make." After they hung up, Riley cried for hours. She knew she'd done the right thing for Cooper and Mason, but that didn't make it hurt any less. 2 months passed like the longest winter Riley had ever experienced. She went through the motions of daily life, teaching her class, making dinner, reading bedtime stories. But everything felt gray and empty. The boys asked about Alex constantly in the first few weeks. "When is Mr. Alex coming over? Can we call him? Did we do something wrong?" That last question from Mason had broken Riley's heart into even smaller pieces. She'd sat both boys down and tried to explain in 5-year-old terms that sometimes grown-ups need space, that she and Alex were still friends but needed time apart. Neither of them understood, and honestly, Riley wasn't sure she understood either. She missed him. God, she missed him. She missed his good morning texts and their late-night phone calls. She missed the way he listened to her talk about her day like it was the most interesting thing in the world. She missed watching him play with the boys, seeing how gentle and patient he was with them. But every time she thought about calling him, she'd remember the cameras and the cruel comments and the way other parents looked at her. She'd think about Cooper and Mason growing up in that spotlight, and she'd know she'd made the right choice, even if it didn't feel right. Riley was grading papers on a Tuesday evening when her doorbell rang. She wasn't expecting anyone, and for a split second her heart jumped thinking it might be Alex. But when she opened the door, it was a courier with a large envelope. "Riley Martinez? Yes, this is for you. Please sign here." Riley signed, confused, and took the envelope inside. It was from a law firm, which immediately made her nervous. Had she done something wrong? Was Alex suing her? That didn't make sense, but her mind went to worst-case scenarios. Inside was a letter on official letterhead and a check. A check for the exact amount Alex had given her over the months they'd known each other. Every penny she'd tried to pay back, but he'd refused. The letter was short. "Ms. Martinez, per our client's instructions, please find enclosed reimbursement for any financial assistance provided during your friendship. Our client wishes to make clear that your relationship was never transactional, and that these funds were given freely without expectation of repayment.